Today, let's talk about a powerful psychological concept that shapes our world in ways you might not even realize. It's called the security dilemma, and it's this hidden fear loop that can quietly push even peaceful nations right to the brink of war.
So let me just start with a really big question. What if the single biggest reason for war isn't greed or power or hate, but just fear?
You know, the fear of losing control.
The fear of being attacked.
And maybe the biggest one of all, the fear of just disappearing. You know, when you look at history, it's pretty wild. Wars often don't kick off because leaders are itching for a fight. A lot of the time, they start because leaders are absolutely terrified of being caught unprepared.
So this whole pattern, it actually has a name. It's the security dilemma. And it's this crazy loop where one country tries to make itself safer, but in doing so, it ironically makes everyone else feel less safe. And that's what kicks off this whole spiral of tension that is just so hard to break out of.
Okay, so to really get how this plays out between entire countries, we've got to zoom way in. We have to start with our own minds. Because really, this all boils down to basic human psychology.
All right, let's try a little thought experiment. Picture this. You're walking all alone at night. Suddenly, you hear footsteps behind you. Now that person could be totally harmless, right? But what happens in your brain?
Yeah, your brain just snaps to attention. Your heart probably starts beating a little faster. Your whole body's getting ready to protect itself, just in case. It's completely automatic. It's primal.
And what's going on there psychologically is super interesting. It's called threat perception bias. It basically means our minds are wired to default to assuming danger. We prepare for a potential risk, even if we have no idea if the threat is real. I mean, think about it from a survival standpoint. Ignoring something that could be a threat, that could be the end of you. So it's not a flaw in our thinking, it's a feature. It's part of our survival toolkit. And here's the kicker. Countries, well, they kind of behave the same way. They're constantly trying to predict threats, trying to avoid risks, and most of all, protect their future. It's that exact same survival instinct just playing out on this massive global scale.
So, how does this really basic instinct create a situation that's so incredibly dangerous? Well, that brings us right to the heart of the matter, this loop of insecurity. It's all about the paradox of how trying to be safe can actually create danger.
Let's break down how this cycle actually works, step by step. So, first up, you have Nation A. They're feeling a bit exposed, so they boost their security a little bit just to feel safe. Purely defensive, right? Nothing aggressive. But then comes step 2. Nation B over here sees this happening and starts getting nervous. They're thinking, wait, why are they doing that? Are they planning something against us? So what do? Step 3. They increase their own security to match. And this is the real twist, step 4. Nation A sees that move, and now they feel even less safe than when they started. So they have to ramp up their defenses again, and on the loop goes.
And this is so important to get. This whole feedback loop, this spiral, it isn't driven by an actual attack. It's not even driven by obvious aggression. It's fueled by something way more powerful and way more slippery, just plain uncertainty.
And that right there is where things get really, really dangerous. Because uncertainty, it breeds suspicion. And this gets us to the very core of this whole dilemma, the incredible power of perception.
There's actually a name for this in psychology. It's called the ambiguity effect. It's this bias we all have where our brains just hate not knowing. We can't stand a lack of information. So when another country's intentions are unclear, we don't sit back and wait for the facts. Nope, our minds rush in to fill the gap. And guess what we fill it with? Usually the worst case scenario.
Now imagine this playing out on the world stage. It's a massive deal. No nation can ever be 100% sure what another nation is going to do next. So what's the responsible thing for a leader to do? Well, you prepare for all the possibilities, right? Especially the bad ones. But here's the problem. That very preparation, it can look really threatening to your neighbors. In that kind of environment, risk feels real and urgent, while peace, well, that just feels kind of uncertain.
All of this brings us to this central, mind-bending idea, the paradox of protection. It almost feels like an unwinnable game, doesn't it?
Just look at this. The gap between intention and perception is huge. On one side, you have a country's leaders thinking, hey, our actions are 100% defensive. We're just protecting ourselves. But on the other side, another country is looking at the exact same actions and thinking, whoa, that looks really aggressive. We have to get ready for the worst. And the wild part is, both sides believe they are being totally rational and logical.
And that's exactly why this whole security dilemma is so tough to solve.
It's like the source material says, there's no simple villain here. There are just different perspectives, and they're all clouded by fear, by history, and by all that uncertainty we talked about. This isn't a simple good guy versus bad guy story. It's more like a systemic trap, where everyone acting logically on their own can lead to a terrible outcome for everyone.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, it leaves us in a world that is, in many ways, shaped by fear. And it really forces us to step back and ask some pretty big questions.
Like, are a country's actions really as aggressive as they might look at first glance? Or could they sometimes just be defensive moves? Moves that are driven by that exact same primal fear we all understand?
And that leads to an even bigger thought, right? How much of all human conflict throughout all of history might just come down to a simple and tragic misunderstanding?
Ultimately, the security dilemma is a powerful reminder that the biggest driver of war isn't always the desire to fight. Sometimes it's just that universal, deeply human need to feel safe. But when every single nation tries to guarantee its own safety, all at the same time, well, that's when fear itself becomes the most powerful and the most dangerous force in the entire system.